and welcome back to another sketchbook tour. Today I'll be showing you this little guy. It's just a cheap little sketchbook that I found in an art store for I think like €2. It's not the best quality, as you can see, but it did what it had to do. I personally enjoy using sketchbooks that aren't that expensive, simply because it helps me to not put too many expectations on myself to like make a very impressive sketchbook. I'll put the names of the people whose stickers these are from up on screen. I got this one in Japan, and I got this one gifted for my graduation from a dear friend of mine. And I got this one at Playgrounds back in 2022, I think. Here's the first page. I started this sketchbook back in 2023, I see. I was still in college back then, and I remember just needing a little break from schoolwork and drawing this piece in the cover of the sketchbook. And these two are two stamps a dear friend of mine made, Jean. They basically ask what are your favorite Pokemon, and I'll make a liner cut stamp out of them. And mine are Litwick and Snorunt. So yeah, once they were done, I immediately got these stamped in this little book. Here's the next page. These are just some hand studies. Here are some studies I made from movie scenes that I found on Pinterest. I really wanted to capture how the light, the light and shadow, moved within certain scenes to emphasize the importance of what was on screen. There are some body studies, and here's a little sketch of me as a bass player. I've never touched a bass in my life, but if I were to use an instrument, I think I would like to try out the bass. I covered something up that I really didn't like here, and I just drew some little houses. Oh, and here you can see how the Copic marker bleeds through this paper. There were some random tree studies. These are some thumbnail sketches for a children's book that I have worked on. It's currently published. It's about a sort of magic tree. And here I was working on compositions to see how I wanted the cover illustration to look. And these are just some random drawings I never finished. Here are some more studies of the Magic Tree children's book that I worked on. I was playing around with the face here, seeing what kind of vibe I wanted this magic tree to have. So I wanted it to be a mix of an ancient, all-knowing tree and still have some naive vibes to it. So maybe for us the tree is ancient, but for the tree itself it's still like a child in a way or something. So yeah. And right here I went to Japan for the first time ever. This was actually the first time I ever traveled outside of Europe. I took this little guy with me to hopefully draw a lot there, and I was also aware that in Japan they have many of these sort of stamp stations, and I really wanted to stamp as much as possible. Sadly, I wasn't able to draw that much when I was there. We had a very busy schedule, so I didn't have a lot of time to just sit around and take in the environments and draw them in this sketchbook. But I'm still really happy to see the drawings and little doodles that I made when I was there. We also went to a museum, and in this museum we weren't allowed to take pictures, but there were some samurai helmets that I loved. They had these little concepts, with one that had a little house on top of it and one a seashell, or these really big horns. I also remember one had little bunny ears, and I thought that concept was so cute. I really wanted to capture it. And since I wasn't able to take pictures of it, I was like, okay, I'll just draw them in my sketchbook instead. And it has become one of my favorite memories from that trip. As you can see, I also drew many bears while I was there. I think I was offered another children's book deal while I was in Japan to draw a little book about a bear whose parents got divorced. So I was also figuring out what kind of style I wanted to draw this bear in once I would be back home. And I think I went with this one. At least this one's most close to how it ended up looking like. Some more stamps and once again, children's book sketches. This one for another one that I was working on at the time. I think I had this one finished, but we were planning on doing a live drawing session. And I was planning out with little thumbnail sketches here what I would be drawing live during the presentation. And I think these sketches I made while I was back home again. Just some sketches I drew while I was in a cafe. Yeah, and this is in the new year. First drawing, I think, in the sketchbook of 2024. Once again, just me sitting in a cafe and wanting to draw what I saw around me. I remember indeed sitting at this cafe and a little mouse scurried past. I don't know if anyone else saw it, but I don't know, I love that memory as well. And I drew these while I was on break at work, while I was still working at the bakery. I drew these while my mom was getting a haircut. I gotta say, I really don't like this page. I tried to draw a bit of perspective, but the lines kept coming out crooked, so it wasn't really working. And then I started to focus more on coloring it, but the pencil wasn't really grabbing onto the paper very well, so I had to go over it a lot of times. And as you can see here, there's still lots of white peeking through. Just some little doodles. Let's see, next one. And here's some quilt design. Here's Joost Klein and Dev Patel. I think I drew this in a lot later than I made these two drawings. I personally don't like leaving a lot of white space within my sketchbooks, so I often go back and try to fill up spaces or white spaces that I have left. Here are some more drawings of the Magic Tree children's book. I think these are pretty close to how it ended up looking. I think I was attempting to see if I could draw this children's book traditionally. So far I have drawn most of the children's books that I've made so far using digital art, but I've been craving drawing a lot with traditional mediums lately. So my goal for this upcoming year, 2025, is to illustrate a children's book using like more traditional mediums. Just some random drawings. I think I was already planning on trying to open my art shop here and seeing what kind of stickers would be fun to design, or like these were meant as art prints. I gotta say, I still really love the concepts, so I might come back to these and turn these into prints. This is the most boring page in the sketchbook, in my opinion. I tried to draw a horse, didn't leave enough space to draw the horse's head. So, yeah. Here are some more just random pencil sketches. I think this was also for a children's book concept I was working on at the time. Here are some more sketches for a potential sticker that I was thinking of making at the time. Just a bear pouring tea. One of the first stickers I actually ever designed is a bear spilling like a little teacup. The art style I personally find is a little bit, or it's not close to how I currently draw, so I was like, maybe I can sort of remake it and yeah, turn it into something like this, but never really came back to it. Here are a bunch of little portraits. These are the first little drawings that I ever made like short videos on. I was planning on making these into little earring designs from polymer clay and then use these little drawings as like little portraits that I used on them. And yeah, I still really like this page. It's a lot of fun to look back at, and I would really like to make something similar like this in the future. Yeah, a random doodle page. Not really a lot to say about this one. I think I rediscovered my Posca pens here and was just playing around with colors and simple shapes for animals. And this one, I really love the Bramley Hedge stories from Jill Barklam. They've inspired me a lot ever since I was a child. Every once in a while I really feel the need to draw scenes of little forest animals that have like these really intricate houses. These ones, or this house is supposed to be like underground, maybe for a little mouse family that lives there. And I love planning out what each room would look like, what they would need and stuff, and yeah. Some more just fun little doodles. Turned this one into a print in my store. I can tell that I was really starting to love working more with colors during this sketchbook. Like I've always, in previous sketchbooks, I feel like I really tried to learn how to use shapes and proportions and stuff. And that's something I feel like I have more control over now. So now I'm really trying to learn how to use colors better and improve my skills with that. So there's a lot more color studies and just playing around with colors in general within this sketchbook. Here's some mandarin ducks and just random pictures I found on Pinterest that I thought the colors were really nice from and wanted to try to redraw. A little bit of a weird page. Here I was planning out a bookmark design. Still really love the concept. This drawing I am not that big of a fan of. I can tell it's really rushed, but yeah, I still really love the concept and want to get back to it one day. Mixed media piece with Copic markers, Posca I think as well, and some colored pencils. The actual reference image I used for this, like they look nothing alike. The drawing itself I think turned out fine, but if we would look at it in terms of how well I redrew the model, it's awful. I do really like this flower though, and I think this cow is also still really funny. Here's a little girl with a crossword puzzle as a jacket and hat. This one's inspired by, I forgot the name of the artist, I'll put that on screen. But they made an illustration for, I think, the New York Times that also had this concept of like a crossword puzzle as a code. And I thought that was so cute. I immediately wanted to start cutting into this old crossword puzzle booklet that I still had. I had it lying around for like years at that point. And yeah, I wanted to use it for this little craft project drawing. Here's a Posca piece. When I showed this to a friend of mine, she asked if this piece was inspired by Eve from like Adam and Eve. And I didn't, but I actually really love the idea of that because I indeed put like apples and steaks in there. But like, yeah, it was a really unconscious thing that I did. But thank you, Lily, for giving me this idea to add to this little drawing. Never took the time to actually finish this piece. It took me way too long. I gave a workshop at the Queer Art Club in Maastricht. And I gave a little character design workshop. And these were the drawings I made that day. I gave everyone little prompts to like build a character around. And it's seriously one of my favorite days of 2024. The weather was perfect. Everyone was so nice. And yeah, I'm really thankful for that day. I would love to give more workshops like that in the future. These are some more sticker design sketches, and I drew this after I played... Oh, I forgot the name. I forgot the name of this game. I'll put it up on screen, but for some reason, when I was gaming and in like creepy situations, I go into like autopilot mode and start doing this weird Kermit voice, and it was making my friends laugh a lot at the time, so I was playing it up a lot, and then I drew this little Kermit piece afterwards that was inspired by our game night. Some swirls. I remember listening to the Raven Boys audiobook while I was drawing these swirls. You can really tell also that I was already starting to get into my like quilt blanket phase. I also really still love this concept, this little doodle. I think it would be really cute as like a Valentine's Day card. And I drew this while I was sleeping over at a friend's house of mine. I think she was still asleep at the time and I just started drawing like the view from her room. Some more random sketches and a bunch of Kermits. I was a little bit too ambitious with this page. My initial idea for this was that I would give my friends this sketchbook so they could all like draw little portraits within each of these stamps. Turns out I made like way too many of these little stamps. I don't have that many friends apparently. But yeah, here are the little drawings some of my friends made. And I really love looking at this. And I think I will do this concept again in a future sketchbook. But this time with like less open spaces. These few I drew myself while I was waiting for an appointment. And these were from my friends. Yeah, this looks like something I would draw while I was listening to an audiobook. I think I did this with Posca pens as well. And here are like some of the first sketch ideas for the bookmarks that I eventually made for my shop that are currently my bestsellers. At the time I really wanted to draw little animals in quilted beds, but I found the concept of like just them in a bed a little bit boring, or I didn't know how to turn this into an effective illustration. So I was really still figuring out at the time like how can I make this as cozy as possible, or what kind of art piece can I turn this idea into. And right here I first came up with the actual idea. These are also still concepts I really want to do. Like I said, here's the little house again that I would love to turn into a bookmark. It's like a little bookshop, and my idea is to make the little bookshop like 4 times, but in the 4 different seasons, so you could use them. So you could use each of the bookmarks for each season. And the backside here, that you can see the inside of the bookstore with also little critters just reading or doing their little jobs. And here I wanted to make an illustration with all the books that I had read I think that half year. Also still really love this concept and want to get back to it. I think it's a really fun way to like combine my love for art and books. These are some, I think, I recently read a book at this point. It's called Relic by Preston and Child. And there's this sort of tropical monster that chases people around in a museum in there. And this was kind of how I imagined the monster would look like. I would say these sketches are still quite unfinished. Not necessarily really how I had it in my head at the time, but yeah, that book really had an impact on me. And I drew this little Kermit after I watched the Jim Henson documentary that at the time had just released. I cried like a baby during it. Here I took myself on an artist date to the local natural history museum and just started drawing like dinosaur skeletons and other taxidermied animals. I think it's a really good resource if you're able to go to natural history museums around you or are able to maybe go on a discount or anything. It's an amazing opportunity to try to draw animals from all different angles and really understand how they are like shape-like. So yeah, it's a really fun exercise, and in general I just think it's really inspiring to just draw animals from real life. Sadly these weren't alive anymore, but you get the point. What's funny about this animal, I don't know the English name for it, but it's like a really, really big eagle. And in Dutch, it has the nickname the Flying Door, and I find that hilarious. These are also from that same day. I think this was the museum garden. And this was later when I went to sit next to the river and just drew whatever I saw with the materials I had at the time. This was another like plein air artist date session that I went on, and this time we went to the local like petting zoo. And they had quite a lot of animals in there that are like not native to the Netherlands, like meerkats, and this is like a, what was this called? A fennec fox? It was beautiful, and also that day the weather was really nice. I had a great time drawing these little animals there. They also had capybaras. First time I ever saw capybaras in real life. I was so excited. They were just playing around in their little ponds. And this is the first ever drawing I made for a product I received because of like me posting videos on YouTube. These were made for Arrtx. They gifted me some of their acrylic markers and I like drew these little geese. Of course, I also had to draw a gonzo afterwards. After like trying to draw something very beautiful and showing off my artistic skills and more of the like subject matter I usually draw, I really wanted to make something just silly. And I love the Muppets, and yeah, I couldn't help myself. I think this was based on a picture that I took when we went to the petting zoo, and I think my idea was to fill this page up with some of the pictures I took that day, but I ended up never actually doing it. Here are some more tests I did with the Arrtx markers. I really like this one. I think it's really cute. Here's a mixed media piece. The art style is inspired by Cath Illust. I think they make amazing drawings with amazing use of colors, and at the time I was listening to this book called The Cherry Robbers, and the portrait is inspired by one of the characters in there. The base layer is made up of the Arrtx acrylic paint markers. Then I also used some colored pencils on top of there. And in the end I also think I used like these wax crayons. And yeah, I really like the different materials I used in this one. I would love to make more pieces like this in the future. But then more inspired by my regular art style instead of just, yeah, I don't want to copy Cath Illust too much. This was just a study. Here's a sketch I made for another illustration that I made with the Arrtx markers. That one's up on my channel if you want to watch me draw it. Some more project planning for, I think, products that I eventually wanted to put up on my shop, but I don't think I continued working with these. Also still really like some of these, might come back to these later. It's always fun to have these little thumbnail sketches and stuff to look back on, even if I at the time haven't illustrated or made a full illustration out of them, because at moments when I don't have a lot of inspiration, being able to look back at this can really spark inspiration. And yeah, I've already put the ideas down, so I could then just pick it up at any moment to make full illustrations out of it. Here's another illustration based on the book The Cherry Robbers. I really like it. I really think I captured the characters from the book really well on this page. Here I am just playing around more with the Arrtx markers, seeing how I can work with like negative space in here. This is another mixed media piece. I think I used like Posca mark or like a Posca gel pen thingy for the whites. I used colored pencils, I used Arrtx markers, and I also think I even used the crayons again. So basically anything I could find, I just added on top of these drawings. I honestly just made this one for TikTok. My sketchbook was nearly complete at the time, and I was doing this little series of finish my sketchbook with me. Didn't know what to draw, so I just decided to draw aesthetic flowers. Honestly not my favorite page, but the colors are cute, so. And here is the last page. This one's inspired by the Golden Compass and his Dark Materials series from Philip Pullman, if I say that correct. yeah, it's just a scene in the book that I found really descriptive, and I imagined it to look a bit like this in my head. But yeah, that's basically it for this little sketchbook. During this sketchbook, I feel like I really grew a lot. I feel like I grew a lot during this sketchbook. It's the first year after graduation, and I really feel like I was trying to find myself while drawing in this sketchbook. I also really fell in love with art again after having like a little bit of an art block after graduation. And yeah, I really look back fondly on all these pages because I can really tell that during most of these I had a lot of fun just playing around with shapes and colors and stuff. So yeah, that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching up until this point. You're a champ, thank you. If you like to support me even further than you've already done by watching this video, you could like this video or even subscribe. I have a bunch of other videos up on my channel that are all art related, so maybe you can check those out if you like. You could also check out my other social medias. Those will be linked somewhere on screen and in the description down below. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye!